morning to one and all. This is Dr. P. Lavanya, working as Associate Professor in MBA Department in Aeronautical Institute of Aeronautical Engineering, Dundigal, Hyderabad. Today, we want to see regarding the price discrimination in international level. Already we know what do you mean by the price discrimination. So, price discrimination means charging different price to the different customers or based upon the situation, different price will be attributed to the market sense. So, this price discrimination at international level means when we come regarding the imports and exports. So, when we go regarding imports and exports contest, the price discrimination is called as dumping. Means whatever the goods which is excess production within a country will generally gives at a less price or sold at a less price to the outside of the country. So this type of price discrimination at international level is famously called as dumping. So this is a situation where the price of a product which is sold to the importing country is less than the price of the same product when sold in the market of exporting companies or countries. So where we can take this importing and exporting. So already we know foreign trade. So which consisting of import and export. So as we know, the importation of the goods means we get the goods from the outside of the country into our country, and exporting of the goods in the sense we want to transport the excess production or the goods from our country to our neighboring country. So this is called an imports and exports, which is also called as exim policy of the country. Which is also called as exim policy of the country. So, and this exim policy, maximum the goods which we produced in the country, we want to sold outside of the country only when the goods are in of excess or required situation. Means when the production is more in our country and we want to send our goods to the another country or the next exporting country. So when this is done at a less price, means whatever we sold in the market is less than whatever we get inside, then that is called as dumping. So as we know, this dumping is also called as unfair trade practices. Why it is called as unfair trade practices means, here as we are saying that importing country is less than the price of the product when it was to exporting country. Means I import at a less price and I export to a very less price to the other country. So which is not at all related to the profit maximization concept. Means we are unable to achieve more amount of the profit. So which is called as unfair trade practices. So the main purpose of this dumping was anti-dumping investigation is to be ascertained whether dumping is to take place or caused injury to the domestic country importing the aligned dumping products. Means here we call it as an unfair. Maybe it is regarding the organization, maybe it is opposite to our profit maximization aim. But along with that, when we have these anti-dumping investigations, means when the country goes on seeing that whether dumping takes place which cause injury, means maybe creating a disturbance in the domestic industry of the country due to the importing of such products, then we will consider it as an unfair trade practices. So in other words, we can say this is a process focused, means dumping or the price discrimination which we done is in a process focuses on establishing a normal value of the product when sold in the domestic market of exporting country. Means here we can say it focused upon the what is the value of the product. So relating to the domestic market and exporting markets. Normal products, normal value we want to export to the another country within a less price. And at the same way, here in case of dumping, establishing the export price of the product. Means we has to give at first what price we are exporting our goods into the external market. So that price we'll call it as an exporting price. So once we have been decided some price, and afterwards due to the increase of internal cost of the organization, maybe the cost increases and the price will become, exporting price will become maybe less. So that's why first we has to see what is the value of the product, what when we are going for this domestic market to the exporting country, and at the same way what is the export price of the product. Means according to the anti-dumping activities, we first has to enumerate or give what is an export price, and along with that we should compare the export price with normal value which has been established. Means the above two, normal value of the product and what is the export price, both has to be compared. Why? Because if we are selling at a lesser cost, the normal value of the product will be more and exporting price will be less. Then automatically it leads to the dumping of the goods with a lesser price in the external market. And along with that, we has to identify that, ascertain whether domestic industry of the importing country has sufficient injury of dumping imports. Means sometimes we can say that domestic industry what it was giving the product for the importing country and itself will suffer. Means already that country is self-sufficient with that product, but due to the excess production of our country, we are exporting it to that country. What happens there? The local prices of the goods will also fall down regarding these dumping of imports into that country. So in this way there is an adverse effect if we dump more product in case of price discrimination to the other nations. So along with that, there are some trade rules relating to these anti-dumping investigation which we have to recognize in the due process. And already we know what is multilateral trading. So we have an agreements which the Indian government has been provided, like GATT, GATT, General Agreements for Trade and Tariffs. So these agreements are of different types like multilateral, bilateral and unilateral. So multilateral are the agreements when one country was agreed with two or more different countries, then we consider the agreement as a multilateral agreement. So these multilateral agreement or the trading system which was there at an international level has given a due course for anti-dumping areas. So these due course for anti-dumping investigation was conducted in a transparent manner with objectives and also the equitable way. So which means the anti-dumping investigation would be conducted in transparent, means whatever we want to provide which should be visible and must and should be identical to the each and every person. And at the same way, these dumping must and should have the objectives. That objectives must and should be, we has to identify that equitably with our organizational or country's objectives. Means we should not go for anti-social aspects or which is against to the human welfare. So our objectives must and should be whether maybe profit maximization or the wealth maximization or equitably distribution of the wealth. So with these interested parties only, adequate opportunities are given by the interesting people. Means this anti-dumping investigation, it has to be transparent to each and every person, and at the same way the objectives and equitable way which they has to be identified by the interested parties by these multilateral trading systems. So when you comes under this nature and scope of these price discrimination, where we can say like the nature and scope, here it's a wider scope. Why? Because the total price discrimination at international level was given by the the governments of certain countries. So the governments of that country will have these trade agreements. Based upon those trade agreements, we are able to identify the each country is having its nature or maybe having its wider scope relating to these dumping activities. So this project has been intended within a broad view of intimating as intimation of an anti-dumping investigation. So we have to discuss that what are the overall intimations which was provided relating to the anti-dumping investigation. Here the concept of dumping should have to discuss first is existing multilateral legal framework. Already we have seen that multilateral agreements or those where the different nations come and sign. Means agreements between the different nations will consider consolidately given one upon one acceptance. We'll call it as multilateral agreements. If 3-4 countries come together and sign upon that agreement, then we'll call it as a multilateral agreement. So here first we have to discuss that there is any existence for the multilateral agreements. So is workable or not? Already some agreements are there, or we are going to go ask for the different nations to conduct this multilateral agreement. For that multilateral agreements, we require pre-initiation phase and final determination phase. Means when I want to draft any sort of agreement at international level related to maybe environmental effect, means minimizing the pollution or anything else, first we have to go for the first stage which we will call as pre-initiation stage. Pre-initiation stage means where we can draft any of the agreement by considering that what are the possibilities or which countries are ready to accept this type of agreements. And at the same way, this pre-initiation phase where we have to identify that the possibilities of outcomes of that agreement. So how far the agreement will be possible and how many nations are ready to accept and what are the benefit or the outcome of that agreement has to be identified in the pre-initial stage. Once the pre-initial stage completed and itself want to transform as a final determination stage. So the possibilities what we find in the pre-initiation may not be possible in case of determining or when the work is going on. So after pre-initiation, we ourselves will go and see that how the final draft of this determination could be followed. So these type of discussion will be conducted by the multilateral agreements when it was going for at an international price discrimination between the different nations. Next, as we have seen, there is dumping means it is a set not against the GATT obligations. Already we have said GATT means generally accepted trade and tariffs. So these or GATT principles or the universal or the principles which are kept for the different nations. So when all these countries accept those principles and these dumping it is not against to the GATT. GATT itself is having maybe in the bilateral or multilateral agreements we can have the process of dumping. So this practice is condensed only when it causes injury to the domestic country. Means the dumping is according to the legal format we can go for any country. But when that dumping has been caused any injury to the export and imports of the domestic country, then we have to take consideration as a anti-dumping requirement. Means unless until the country is favorable with the goods or the dumping activity, there is no problem. But once when it causes the domestic product or the domestic things to be injured or get lost, automatically anti-dumping activities has to be identified. So these injury we can explain how for a dumping activity will conduct an injury to the other. We can explain in the 3 contexts. So the first context is in a layman's view. Means in case of the common man. So common man treats it as dumping means only selling a product at a lower price in international market. Means commonly we used to see that dumping means when goods are coming from the other country and with that we can get in a product with a lower price, we'll call it as a dumping in a common man's attitude. But when it comes under the legal terms, in case of government obligations and the legal terms, when it comes under that legal terms and Article 4th of the GATT and ADA, that is anti-dumping activities, ADA means anti-dumping activities. So according to the articles of this GATT and anti-dumping activities, where it defines that a sale of product at a price less than its normal value, means when a goods is sold regarding at a less price than what is its original cost or the original value, where the normal price in the sense the price which has to be sold in the domestic market, means where the internally a country is selling. For example, when we are selling maybe iron and steel, maybe 1 ton of iron and steel maybe within a 40,000 or 50,000 rupees. But when the other country's iron and steel is coming to India and getting the same quality at 30,000 or 35,000, then it is called as a dumping activities, and where we has to consider the measures to be taken in case of regarding the anti-dumping activities. Means according to the rules of the international GATT principles and anti-dumping activities, where we say that when the sale price or the export price is less than the normal price, then it is considered as a dumping. And when we have seen this one in case of in the third context, the first context is common layman getting a lower price. But in the second context, where we can see that it is creating a hurdle to the normal value or the local value of the product where we are getting from outside. And when you comes under the third context of these dumping activities, where it relates to the pre-World War II dumping activities. So it defines that either may be monopolistic discrimination or predatory behavior on the part of oligopolist to preserve the cattle and drive competition out of the business. Where in this third context we have identified as a longer definition saying that dumping means either monopolistic price discrimination. As we know that monopolistic means where the price discrimination is based upon its quality of the product, variety, features, means based upon some differentiated features, the price will be discriminated, which we'll call it as a monopoly price discrimination. Means here, whatever the dumping activities are done may be caused due to this monopoly price discrimination or the predatory behavior, means what type of the predatory sense that a company or country is providing to do that behavior as a part of oligopolistic. As we know, the oligopoly means a few firms. Means this dumping activity is done by the different nations, only few countries will give the same type of product. So we consider it here as an oligopolist to preserve the cattle and drive the competition of the business. So what purpose we are going for this monopolistic price discrimination with the predatory behavior of an oligopolist is in order to drive the competition and sustain in the business. So that is the another definition or the another view where after the second pre-World War I has been experienced this dumping. So these are the three, that is common layman's view according to the GATT principle and pre-World War period, the views given regarding to the dumping activities. So along with that we'll cross across to the what are the advantages we can find in case of dumping. So here the first advantage relating to the dumping was it allows an unprofitable business to avoid going bankruptcy. Means when organization is coming into the losses, or maybe organization is facing from the past years the losses and going to the shutdown situation. So these dumping will help us to allow maybe to continue the business or not at all to shut down itself. So it doesn't go for bankruptcy, means closing down of its business. So some cases it may be possible that the price will enables. So when I export to the other nations where the company or that one will get a normal profits. Being in a losses, getting normal profit is good. So when I export to the others or dump into there where the organization can achieve minimum normal process, which enables the firm to turn losses into the small profits. Means when internally I am getting within the country losses, and when I export to the other nations, automatically the normal profits will make our internal losses to become as a net profit, which means that business activity is going rather than means moving smoothly with a little bit of profit rather than shutdowning the business or closing of the plant. So this is obviously beneficial for the consumer because it increases the choice of goods and services. Why? Because when we dumped a lot of things, alternative varieties was provided for the consumers. Maybe local product will have some sort of rating or some sort of quality and the cost, and we get very good products or maybe some very favorable products at a low price in case of dumping. So here one of the advantage is once the business cannot go for bankruptcy and it goes on moving with a little bit of profits. And at the same way, the consumer is having a different alternatives which benefit the consumer to choose different types and the different varieties. So the two ways, maybe converting the business into profit and giving choice for the consumer to see the different worldwide product is one of the advantage. And along with that, some groups are benefited for cheaper price. Means this price discrimination, the firm has intention to cut out the prices of the consumers who are sensitivity to the prices. Means many consumers are there who are in conscious nature. So they want to bargain a lot of times such that maybe a simple 1% or 5% or maybe of 0.1% decrease also benefited for the consumers. So for that type of consumers where these goods are benefited getting at any cheaper price, means in case of elasticity of demand. If the firm offers, for example, we can say that if a firm offers 10% reduction to the students, maybe any of the products, maybe like pens, books or any sort of software installments has provided 10% reduction to the students, where we can say that students are more benefited as they don't have any income, and at the same way they are the lower income than the budgeted people. So this group of people will get very much benefited such that the downside is that the consumer will faces the higher prices. Means these when the good was at a higher price and at some category of the people want or required that product, then automatically we can see that those people has been benefited by these dumping activities. Next, another importance of this price discrimination or dumping is to avoid congestion. So price discrimination is one of the managed to the demand. If there is no price discrimination, then there is no demand. So as we found that price discrimination in rush hours of trains would be more crowded than the normal days. Means it will avoid congestion, means it manages, means every organization want to sell its product at a more demandable time. So when demand is more, only organization was able to get the profits. So in this scenario, we can say that it will avoid conjugation as in the sense that no price discrimination, means if price discrimination is not provided, then some people will not avail the offers. So that's why in the festival season or maybe any of important dates, where we can see that the trains, bus journeys and other will provides the discriminative price when it was its sense of more crowded. And in case of this price discrimination is an incentive for some of the people. It is like incentive to go later in the days. Means when it is more, some people doesn't want to travel. Maybe the above example where we can see that the prices increases or the decreases. Maybe in the rush hours, the journey rates will more. And when it the normal days, the journey rates will be less. So the days where the journey rates is less, that's an incentive for a common man or a layman who want to travel at a rush, at a least price. Means those who want to travel at a rush hour will be benefited from the less congregation, and the people who want to travel at a less price will be benefited in all hours. So in this way, this price discrimination or the dumping will avoid conjugation. And the next, another important benefit of this price discrimination is low income consumers was able to benefit from the cheaper prices. Means as we want to increase our levels, maybe from lower level to upper level or maybe standard of living, when the individuals or the poorer people will become as a middle class people only when they are able to get the products at a cheaper prices. So one form of indirect price discrimination is offering a lower price to the consumers to collect the coupons. Means where these type of people was given some cheaper rates or the cheaper variety by providing some sort of discount, subsidiaries or coupons. So this imposes upon the cost of the consumers to time to collect. So if consumers are time rich and money poor, they can take advantages of the lower price. Means these low income consumers who are consumers are more and where they are poor in case of money, they will take the advantages of this lower pricing strategies. So in this way, it is also one of the important one that low income consumers will be benefited by this dumping. And another one of the advantage relating to the dumping is investment. So this price discrimination helps the firm to become more profitable. How an organization is more profitable? When we sell more goods, maybe internally or externally, maybe within the country or external country, when we sell more of them through dumping activities. Means as I have a vast natural resources and production is also vast. But no people are there to purchase, then automatically I can sell out of the country, where we can call it a dumping activity, which creates a profitability to the organization. So which enables the firm to invest in increased capacities. Means it can increase its capital capacity, maybe from 1 lakh to the 5 lakhs, 10 lakhs, 20 lakhs. By producing more amount of the goods, more investment was recouped in the organization, and our investment means our cadre of the organization may become from short term or the low to the higher cadre by increasing the investment. So for this we can see the examples like an airlines which maximize the profit from the price discrimination can investigate in updating its aircraft at the latest technology. Means when we want to get more profits or increase the profits from price discrimination, then we give up different offers. Maybe aircraft that itself we have giving latest offers, latest technology usages or providing some benefits, services. In this way, it want to increase the customers with a less price and to get a more profit such that we can increase our investment within the organization. So these are the some of the advantages what we can say relating to the price discrimination of dumping. And along with that we have some sort of disadvantages of this dumping, as the main disadvantage of this dumping activity is potential consumers are exploited. Means these dumping will result in paying more than they should, especially when they lack of pricing information. When price discrimination comes, when I know what is the cost of the product in the market, then I'll bargain. If I don't know what is the cost of the product in the market, then I'll think that whatever I am getting the price is a lesser price. and the consumer, due to the lack of information regarding the pricing, the people may be cheated. And at the same way, we can say that another disadvantages like economic inefficiencies means this might result in misallocation of the resources in some cases. Means maybe there is a best utilization of the resources within the country also. Due to the getting the profits from externally, we want to dump lot of natural resources into the one use rather than the multiple uses. So the resources are misallocated or not wisely utilized, which leads to the economic inefficiencies within the country. And another disadvantage of this dumping or the price discrimination is regulatory and legal implication. In some regions, as the products discriminating prices faces many legal barriers. Means as we know that when we go against these GATT principles or anti-dumping activities, the company or the country has to face the legal formalities of the international level. So when these type of anti-dumping activities are done, automatically the company or that country has to face the legal barriers. So these are the some of advantages and the disadvantages regarding to the dumping and price discrimination. Now we'll see what sort of price discrimination we can found in case of in India. So the current set of anti-dumping laws in India is defined by the section of 90A and 9B of Customs and Tariffs Act of 1975. This act was continuously amended in 1995. Means after 1975, the act was given. No amendments or flexibility was provided in this act. But in 1995, we got amendments and anti-dumping rules has been identified, assessed, collected as a duty on dumped articles for determination of injury. Means the anti-dumping association was created, and where we can identify the anti-dumping activity, assess it, collect the proofs, and beside that we should identify that what sort of injury has been done to the local product of that dumping activities. And these rules was already amended in 1995, and the rules has been given under 1995 section 9A of the customer tariffs, and of taking a basic act of 1975, we can say if any article is exported from any country or a territory to India less than its normal value, then upon that imposition of such articles to the India, means it's considered as a dumping when it's within the territory any of the product which is provided less than the normal value of the original product. So in case of central government also made the notification of official gazette and improves that anti-dumping activity exceeds the managing of dumping in relation to the articles as given in 2016 of 353 of anti-dumping case initiated. So these cases has been given and the rules has been once again set in 28th of 2063, and 353 anti-dumping cases has been identified at an international level by India. So this has to be initiated by DGAD, means Director General of Anti-Dumping Aligned Duties, out of which 135 cases has been filed for anti-dumping and various measures has to be identified. So these type of legal contest or maybe relating to the Indian environment, a brief anti-dumping activities or the organization DGAD has been initiated with filing of anti-dumping cases. Thank you.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.